everybody. Welcome to Camel City Chat, and I am here with my friend, and I know I can say that, Don Timmons. If you do not know Don Timmons, strap on your seatbelt, folks. You are about to hear some really cool stories. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. You don't know that I've talked about having you on with Lee, and it's like, well, so it worked out perfect. You're our first guest back after a little bit of a break, and
Good.
start this off real good with you and talk about you've done a couple cool things in your lifetime that I still watch on YouTube, some surprise videos, and I know you have some surprise stories that we'll talk about from one of your previous gigs. And then before we go anywhere, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I want to say thank you for your sacrifice, because I truly believe that it was a sacrifice, but I'm also supposed to say thank you for your service. But when we get through the first couple questions, I want you to tell me what that means when someone says it, and how should someone say it to a veteran, because I know you do a lot of work with veterans. Okay. So, but thank you. I know we're sitting here because of people like you.
That's a hard comment to respond to.
Right.
But I usually just say thank you back.
Yeah. So we'll chat about that. All right, Don, where are you from and how long you been here?
Well, I'm from a lot of places. Detroit, Michigan.
Were you born there?
I was born in Detroit.
I was born in Rochester.
Really? Okay.
Second baby in Oakland County Hospital.
Yep.
Yep.
So I've lived in Kentucky, and I've lived in Tennessee, and I've lived in Ohio, and I've lived in Florida, and I've lived in North Carolina.
Right.
So North Carolina, I've been here the most time we have been. And I think my heart's still in Kentucky.
Right.
But I love North Carolina.
Well,
So
I
my
can
heart's in two
understand that. Is your
places,
heart in Kentucky because of bourbon or any other? I mean, that's why my heart would be there.
How did you hear about the
Did you know they made that there?
Do they?
So, yeah. So you're married.
I am.
How many kids you got?
Actually, let me talk about the marriage. In 10 days,
Oh, gosh.
49 years.
And I will tell you that you definitely outpunted your coverage.
Yep.
Your wife is awesome.
She is.
And she did okay, too. But,
I got the better end of the deal.
no question about that. Yeah. Are we still friends now? Still?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just making
absolutely.
sure. But so you've been married 49 years coming up, and you have two
sons.
right? Okay.
One is in Winston-Salem, Clemens,
Right.
and one just moved to Spencer, New York,
Okay.
in the middle of the winter.
And
It's
we'll be
very
moving
cold.
back soon, hopefully.
Well, we hope it goes well for him up there.
How long have you been in Forsyth County?
We have been here 30 plus years, I guess.
30 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We moved from Tennessee to here.
And what moved you here?
A job.
Okay.
We had the opportunity to be a partner in a business that it was a small financial services business.
Right.
We worked for manufacturers, helping them resolve accounts receivable issues. All business to business. It was exciting.
I'm making sure
really,
there's no bats or anything in
Yeah,
here. It
that's
sounds
right.
like you're a collector.
We did collect money, but it was not individual collections. It was working with a big retailer representing a manufacturer
Right.
who, when the manufacturer invoiced the retailer, many times they found reasons to not pay all their invoice.
Right.
So we would go in and do research and just figure out who's right and wrong and ask for the money back if they were wrong. And it was a real niche kind of business, and it was unique and fun, and just an entrepreneurial type of experience.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. People don't realize that someone might owe you $500,000, but they're not paying you any of it because there's a $10 credit that they weren't given or things like that. And
or they didn't get it all, or
Right.
the price was a little bit wrong. Or, so
Yep.
it
So
was,
interesting stuff.
we saw some really creative things
Right.
going on in business.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. I was reading, 3 o'clock in the morning, and someone was saying, customers from Hades, and it was like someone was like, well, yeah, but you, why should I pay you? It's, and they were like, well, we did the work, but I don't like what you did. Well,
Yeah,
that
right.
doesn't matter. You still owe me.
Yes.
So
correct.
it was like logo design or something. All right, so you, the wife here, one son here, one son in New York, which
Two awesome grandsons.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And then where do you Where's the last place you went out to dinner with the bride, or where did you, what's one of your favorite restaurants in and around Winston-Salem?
What we kind of like to do, we haven't been hardly anywhere
Right.
in 2 years, but we like to go to our favorite, and we have several favorite craft breweries,
Right.
and eat whatever's available there,
Right.
and just be with friends and try to be outside and
Right.
enjoy other people and enjoy the beer and enjoy the
I mean,
experience.
that patio outside in Cindy area where you can go right next door and pick up a pizza or something like that,
Yes.
or have a couple more and then go upstairs to Alma or things like that. I mean, that's what a great thing
Yeah,
that
it
is that we have.
It's a symbiotic relationship between the brewery and the restaurant and the people.
And the food trucks out at the other places. I mean, we've got so many good breweries, or you can just go into Foothills and eat.
We do that too.
Yeah. I understand.
Yes.
My favorite is perusing books and pretending like that I, still had a bookstore, but getting a beer next door and then
That's
walking
right.
in. Yeah. So that's nice. All right. So, what favorite thing to do then? Obviously, you like to be social and get out and stuff. But what's something you like to do?
I have been trying to stay fit.
Okay.
So I run.
Okay.
I've never really liked running. But
I don't think anyone does.
I just keep doing it for some reason.
Right.
And I'm 75, so you do what you can to stay fit. And I enjoy being out, which is kind of what you have to do when you run. So I like that.
We're blessed with places like Tanglewood and stuff like that.
We are. And DJ walks the dog every day. We've almost always had a dog.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little redhead now that she's pretty awesome. And they go to Tanglewood and they go over by the new school and the hospital in Clemens and walk and in the neighborhood. So it's nice.
Laura was learning how to ride bikes, and we had her on like the 16-incher or something, and all of a sudden we went to, it was Christmas time, we're talking about getting her a bike, and I'm like, let's go to a bike shop and let's, get some real advice. And they bought, we were thinking we were just going to jump up to an 8. She went to a larger bike and everything, but when she was on the right thing, then guess what? It was right.
Yeah.
And exactly the area that you were just talking about where your wife, goes. Frank Morgan Elementary, that parking lot, it's great around in there.
Yep.
You're not getting...
Down by the lake.
Yeah,
It's paved all the way around that
right,
lake.
yeah, and just riding bikes, not much traffic, and having the ability just to get out is awesome.
Yep. Now that's one thing we all need to do, just force ourselves to get outside.
Right.
Sunday, it was kind of a crazy day, and we just sat around and watched movies and stuff.
Right.
That was okay to do that. It's just, I keep thinking I need to be outside.
Right. Yeah.
So when the days get longer, I'm outside and I'm in the woods behind our house, and I'm doing whatever I can just to stay busy and be outside.
Yeah, it's I've started doing some woodworking, and I've moved it out into the driveway, and it's so nice just to be out there, and then neighbors will walk by and warn me not to cut off fingers or anything like that, or stuff like that. Yeah, but it changes your whole day when you get outside.
Yeah, it does.
All right, so let's talk.
Okay.
I think you and I met, and you were just telling me we were having the pet food drive in Big Shots parking lot.
Yeah,
and,
many years ago. You
yeah.
and Wendy and Angela. And
2009, 10, 11, somewhere around in there.
From that point, we all became friends.
Right.
And I like what you did. I like to be a part of something meaningful, and
well, you guys
were doing something.
It was amazing to me because you came over and you were donating stuff for the pups, and then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, I got something if you guys are interested in doing this, and we started talking and got you on real estate radio and that, and I want to talk about that, but I think I really want to go back, and I want to go back to 16, 17-year-old Don, and where were you living around that time?
Sturgis, Kentucky.
So you're in Kentucky, and there's the Vietnam War going on.
Yes, the beginning of it.
Right, and so tell me about that. That's something that we haven't experienced in a lot of our lifetimes, and you were...
Well, that was more when I was in college. I went
Right.
to Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green, and it was just like it is now. Well, not so much now, but in the recent past, there's a war going on, but people are living their lives, and unless you have somebody that's committed to it or involved in it, a lot of people didn't even think about it.
Right.
And, I'm sad to say, except for knowing that when I graduated, I was most likely going to go,
Right.
I didn't think about it.
Right.
So, a lot of things happened that just kind of went, like they still do.
Right.
But the same day that I finished my final exam, I was going to party that night.
Right.
So I went home and I checked the mailbox, and there was my invitation to join the Army that same day. So, I was in the Army for almost 2 years, and I was in Vietnam, Cambodia for 14 months. In the Big Red One and the Black Horse, 11th Armored Cav. And, you do what you're asked to do, and you do it the best you can. And you try to make it home. And, you make friends along the way, and the closer you get to coming home, the more sandbags you pack around you, because you think, I made it this far. I got it, the goal line is right there.
Right.
And finally you make it. Most of us, a lot of us didn't.
Right. And so you came back, when did you come home?
October 1970.
Okay. And it blows me away as a civilian. I would have been, I'm not saying this to make you punch me, I would have been 2 at the time. But it blows me away knowing how patriotic our country is to understand that you were not received with open arms and a parade.
Now, one day I was in Vietnam, and 4 days later I was sitting on the porch giving my mom a hug.
Right.
So you just transitioned right out. There was no of the transitional support or anything like that, and you just moved on with your life.
Right. Is there a better hug than that one?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's just got to be, because and you do so much for veterans now. I know that this is what you're doing now, so I want to talk about that, and then we'll go back to some of the other things.
Okay.
But since we're on that subject, we've talked about it. I mean, you definitely have fallen into something I think that you really love. I mean, I don't think anything you've done you haven't loved. You'll hear about those in the next couple segments. But what's it like to reminisce and honor those guys that were in front of you?
Well,
And girls.
I'm going to circle back to that a little bit. But when I got out, I did hardly anything veteran.
Right.
Until I ran into, quite by accident, we'll talk about this too, advanced directives.
Right.
I went into, at that point it was Hospice and Palliative Care Center here in Winston to
Right.
get my advanced directives completed. And it was about time.
And we got to talk about what advanced directives are too, right? But no,
Yeah,
it's fine.
okay.
So Stabler's given us that thing again, so it's about
Hey,
time for us to
Stabler.
take a break. So you're working for hospice now, and of course
Yes.
it's now called Trellis.
Trellis Supportive Care.
And I want to talk about what you're talking about, but let's take a quick break, and then when we
Okay.
come back, then you can go into all of that.
Yes,
Okay? Because I don't
absolutely.
want you to be going through the whole long list, and it's like, hey, break right here. So
Okay.
we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson. I'm here with my friend Don Timmons. And Don, before the break, you were starting to talk about Trellis,
Yes.
which some people may go, what's Trellis? So peeling that back, that's hospice and palliative care.
Correct.
One thing that I learned through the process is that hospice doesn't mean, tomorrow we're just waiting. It also allows people to have someone come in and help out in the home.
Yes.
With respite care. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right, and
That's
then
part
the
of
nurse,
it.
the nurses coming in and checking on, and it actually once someone who has that diagnosis that could be years in the future, it helps cut costs on some what do you call it, disposables and things like that. So I've learned a lot about that, but. You were talking about coming in for an advanced directive, and so what is an
Right.
advanced directive?
Okay, advanced directives are a living will
Right.
and a healthcare power of attorney. And basically, they allow a person to direct their own health care at end of life, regardless of whether they can communicate it or not.
Right.
So the living will lets you state what kind of health care you would want if you were ever in a situation where you couldn't speak for yourself.
Right.
And the healthcare power of attorney lets you appoint someone, assign someone to speak for you, to be your voice, if you can't speak for yourself.
And I will tell you that make sure that you choose the correct person, because I've seen people that have healthcare power of attorneys and living wills, and people, because they don't want to let go, will take you past what you wanted.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So make sure you choose wisely. But very important.
Right.
It's it's power of attorney, will, healthcare power of attorney, DNR if you want one, and then the other is the
Or there's a most form.
what's the other thing? But yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, you want to get those 5 always filled out.
Yeah.
And so this was weird, because you and I were talking, and it was like you were going around and just doing little seminars to start off with.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So you went in to get it, and then suddenly they hired you?
well, yeah, I met a D. Lehman who is Mr. Advanced Care Planning
Right.
in really North Carolina. He's retired now, but we talked about it and we became friends, and it turns out that at that point, Hospice and Palliative Care Center had an opening, and I was one of those people like you talked about.
You're the only person that could walk in and do a living will and walk out with a job.
Yeah, well, it took longer than that. But, I was one of those people that was thinking, like you just said, hospice, oh gosh, it's the end.
Yeah.
Well, I became educated and informed and about what hospice really is and what it isn't. But what it is, it's a special kind of care for people who have a terminal diagnosis.
Right.
It is for the individual, and it is for the family. I hear so many families that I run into thanking me, which I'm not a clinical person.
Right.
Our clinical people are awesome and take care of the patients and the families. And thank me, but I'm saying, but they're saying thank you for taking care of my loved one.
Right.
But also thank you for taking care of us.
Right.
And keeping us informed on what's going on and why and when and all this. And it just makes a big, big difference.
Well, especially, based on your economic level too, we have to remember that diapers, pads, all that stuff is expensive, but in the hospice program or the trellis program, you've got a nurse now coming by once a week to check on the patient, make sure everything's good, et cetera, and stuff like that. And then, so that when Mom went into the hospice program through trellis, it was with her diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia, there was someone there each week checking vitals, doing all that kind of stuff, and then also providing those disposables in a situation where you may not have that insurance or stuff. That stuff can get expensive quick.
Right.
Yeah.
And hospice care is a Medicare benefit. We've all been paying for it since we got our first paycheck.
Right.
So there is no charge for someone who is appropriate and eligible for hospice care.
Right. So a great program. And so you then start doing these seminars. Like I remember you were like, oh, I forget what we were talking about. You're like, oh, I can't do that because I'm going to be, it wasn't this, it was years back. It's like, I'm going to be in Mount Airy, or no, you asked me to come notarize. That's what it
Okay.
was, because I was a notary, and you're like,
Yeah.
John, yeah, so you would go to, then you started having the breakfast. So tell me about the breakfast, and it was like, hey, we're going to have a breakfast, will you come notarize?
Okay. Well, a couple things about advanced directives first.
Right.
If you mentioned your mom and,
Right.
and Alzheimer's. If you know of someone who is heading in that direction of not understanding,
Right.
have them get these documents completed while they are clear thinking before they pass through that threshold of not understanding.
Right.
Because then it becomes either impossible or much, much more
Right.
difficult. So
Yeah.
younger people need these documents too, because all you have to do is just watch the news, read the newspaper. Crazy bad things happen to people at all ages.
I just read this morning that someone that I dated years ago passed away this week.
Oh,
Yeah. 50 years old.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've had one of my clients pass away from lung cancer, but he was, older than you. And then another one was a friend of mine that she got COVID and was in the hospital, and She had immuno. That's one of those words I can't do. Deficiency because of having a kidney transplant and passed away.
Yeah,
and,
it happens.
You know, but had all the vaccines.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
So what was your question again? Where were we going?
So I was just kind of wanting you to talk about the, you know, I guess from there we go to the Veterans Breakfast.
Okay. So people also may think, you know, hospice, and why do they have a veteran support program?
Right.
Well, 20 to 25% of the American public who are passing
Right.
are veterans.
Right.
And veterans have had a unique, if not traumatic, experience in their life. And we provide different types of support, not different, but in addition to, related to veterans' experiences and all that. And I will tell you, one of the great things I get to do, this Friday, we are having a pinning ceremony for a World War II veteran at his home. And it will be awesome. I get to do that. I get to meet these men and women who basically saved the world back in the 40s.
Right.
And spend
And
time
what
with
are
them.
they? You're pinning them with?
It's a special pinning ceremony that we do. It's a veteran pin.
Right.
And we also have other things that we do as part of that ceremony. And the family will be there.
Right.
And it's something that is just, it's truly, truly meaningful to everybody.
Oh yeah.
And I've done it many, many times, and it's just as meaningful to me. It'll be just as meaningful Friday for me as it was the first time I did it.
Right. And so the breakfast was that something that you guys heard about and recreated, or what? How did this all come about?
Yes, I borrowed the idea.
Okay. R&D, rip off and duplicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Some folks down in Salisbury I'd heard about doing them.
Right.
They were doing them, so I went down and I visited, and I walked into a room of 60 to 80 veterans sitting around having coffee and just visiting. So, you know, we had a little, you know, I met some people and got to thinking, is anybody doing that up here?
Right.
And they weren't. So to move forward, you know, 5 years, we were doing them in 6 different locations, mostly monthly, across central North Carolina, rubbing elbows with, you know, 1,000 veterans a month, and connecting them with resources and activities that are available to them and their families.
Okay.
So, you know, we connect people with the VA. You know, the VA is awesome, but it can be difficult because it's just so huge.
Well, I told you the story with my dad that, you know, he was a gunner in World War II and couldn't get hearing aids.
Right.
And finally, we got hooked up with the right person, and he not only gets hearing aids, but gets a little bit of a benefit too. And he still can't believe he gets that benefit.
Right.
He's like, wow.
Yeah.
They're sending me money.
Yeah.
So.
And it's tax-free.
Yeah. And it helps.
Yeah.
You know, so.
So we have had, we've partnered, we have some great partners.
Right.
You know, we've done with PDQ and the Outback and different locations, and most of the race teams.
Right. Yes, I was going to say, only 60 to 80? I memean, what's a Childress event get you?
We've had special ones at Childress,
Yeah.
RCR. And he and his team are so generous. They let us have this room that'll hold 1,000 people to have our coffees. We had one related to Pearl Harbor Day in probably 2018, where we had 65 World War II veterans. Was your dad there for that one? Did you bring him?
I don't remember if he was there or not.
But
I took him to a PDQ one, and then I think you got him to another one without me being there. So I don't know when that was.
We need to reconnect with you.
Yeah, hey, call him. I'll give you his number. He'll be glad to talk.
And we had about 900 total people there.
Right.
And it was just crazy. When PBS brought out their Ken Burns Vietnam War documentary, we partnered with them, and they came and showed us a preview of it. We invited Vietnam veterans. We had about 800 Vietnam veterans show up that morning. And it was, to say the least, emotional because of all of us being together, but also the subject matter that brought us there that day.
Right.
We had and this is all supported by Trellis Supportive Care and the team there and the mission to support veterans. We had a dinner at the Embassy Suites.
Okay.
And thanks to them, they helped us out a little bit. For women veterans, we had 300 women veterans show up.
That's awesome.
And a lot of them, you could just tell had never really done veteran stuff.
Right.
You know, because women, for some reason, and this is a kind of a blanket statement, and it's not true in every case, but a lot of women veterans don't identify as veterans. Like,
Right.
you know, men will have shirts and jackets and hats and all that stuff, and some women do, and a lot of them don't. But we had a lot of them there. And when they entered the room, we had an ROTC group from one of the schools around with their swords, and they had a sword bridge
Right.
that these women walked under, and it was awesome. So in North Carolina, there are over 80,000 women veterans.
Wow.
80,000. So we do everything we can to reach to them and support them and have them join what we're doing.
Right.
And there are some specifically women veteran things that are going on, events and all that. So we also had, if you Google the Forgotten War,
The Forgotten War. Okay.
Korea, the Korean War comes
Right.
up. So, you know, most people, it was sandwiched between World War II and Vietnam, which are two huge things. And it was 3 years and a month and 2 days or something. There were over 30,000 U.S. troops killed. And they don't even call it a war, they call it a police action because of the politicians. There are still over or nearly 8,000 MIAs, KIAs in Korea
Holy cow.
that we couldn't get to because a lot of the war, early war, was fought in North Korea.
Right.
And we can't get to it. So I was able to go to a funeral down at the National Cemetery in Salisbury last year for a young Marine who died in 1951. And they just recovered his body. So they had a funeral for him.
Holy cow.
And it was, yeah, exactly. Holy cow. So these, you know, these things have just, the veteran part of it, you know, it just comes to me, and I get calls all the time from veterans and veteran family members who you're just cruising along, you know, and something bad happens. Somebody gets sick, whatever, and you don't know where to go. So by having been done this for coming up 8 years, I have developed relationships who do know what to do. So I'm able to pass them along.
Yeah, it's like I've got a closing today, and the lady that's buying the house lives next door to a new couple that just moved from New York. And he had his Vietnam veteran hat on.
Cool.
And I'm like, I've got someone you need to meet.
Yes.
So you're going to write down your information. I'm going to take it to her. She's going to give it to him tomorrow. And hopefully, I said, they're doing virtual breakfast so you can get on there. I said, you need to meet people around here.
Yeah.
And that's the quickest way to do it. And he'll take care of you.
We're hoping to get back in person soon.
Let's take a quick break. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back. Here with Don, and we're just kind of talking about some stuff. You're talking about, did you guys do Flight of Honor too? Did you do some of that, or were you involved in that? Because I think you called me at one point. My dad was like, "Can your dad go?" or something. I think it was a last minute thing. And so as I was telling you, Dad is doing better, but he was in the hospital at 97. He had COVID, but he's home now. But you're talking about Gary Sinise, and this goes back to my YouTube stuff. There's a great video out there. I don't know if you've seen it, where they say, Gary, before you leave, we got something we want you to watch. And they make him watch this video. And it's like all the celebrities, Ron Howard, Tom Hanks, and that, thanking him for what he's done for veterans. So it really came out of Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
So he had no ties to the military before that.
I don't think so. He's not a veteran.
Right. And so tell me about the Gary Sinise Foundation and how you guys are involved a little bit more.
Well, with Trellis, you know, I've just been able to connect with a lot of people because what we're doing is relevant and is important. And they have helped us sponsor several of our events.
Right.
And 2 years have been totally wasted. Say 4 years ago.
Right.
You just have to subtract those two. I got a call from them, and they were putting together a trip called, I'll think of the name of it, Flight of Valor.
Right.
for North Carolina veterans to go to New Orleans to the World War II Museum
Right.
for 3 days.
Wow.
So with all the connections I had, I was able to get about 15 or 16, and other people got another 15 or 16. And because I was involved in it, they invited me to go. So I'm on the flight to New Orleans with a plane load of World War II veterans, and a lot of them I knew.
Right.
And it was just, the museum is awesome, you know, very well done. I mean, everything was taken care of, no expense,
Right.
period, no expense. And it was just one of the things that they do. They help first responders, they help veterans, they help disabled veterans with compatible housing for their injuries and all that. But there are a lot of organizations out there that support veterans. And again, thankfully, because of what I've been able to do, can connect people, veterans, and their families to resources that are helpful.
So Stabler will put this at the end and stuff like that too on how to get in touch with you and stuff. But how do people get in touch with you?
I work at Trellis Supportive Care.
Right.
My email is dtimmons@trellissupport.org.
Okay, so we'll put that up here. Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the best way to get you.
It is.
And then the thing that I have been amazed with is if you talked about that, taking someone. I took my dad to the Mighty Eight or the Great Eight down near Savannah.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So so my dad got to walk around the plane, and it's like, oh yeah, that's where little Joe crawled back because he was the shortest one. He could get back in that back turret, and I'm like, why'd you call him Little Joe? Well, because he was short, John.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'm like, holy cow, how long was he back there? Usually the whole flight. Now, if it gets cold, see, he had the best position because if he got cold, he just hit a couple rounds, and the shells would go underneath him in the glass turret, and they'd warm it up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're being serious, aren't you? Because that's just blown away to us. But
Yeah.
but they did some special things, like if you came on certain days, they'd let veterans go up in the plane and stuff like that. We weren't there for that day, but it was neat to see him be amazed. So I'd love to get him in the World War II Museum.
Oh, he would love it.
So and I mean, I don't know. He was born in 24. What are you seeing of ages of veterans from his era then? Now, I mean, 100-year-old.
They're in the hundreds, yeah.
Yeah, they're hundreds and stuff like that.
Yeah. High 90s and hundreds.
It's crazy.
And
they've got stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We had two through Trellis. We had 2 dinners to recognize World War II veterans.
Right.
One in Winston and one in Concord. And in Concord, there was a lady who was a Marine, and at that time she was 102. She passed away last year at 107. I was able to meet with her and talk with her, and she was a live wire. It was so much fun. And when she passed, she was the oldest living Marine.
Wow.
And she was part of our program. She was great.
Crazy.
At our last veterans call, Zoom,
Right.
Veterans Coffee, we had a couple from Maryland who first time they'd just seen it somewhere and joined in. And as we were winding down, she raised her hand and wanted to talk. And her dad is a 100-year-old Buffalo soldier.
Oh wow.
So they were the 9th and 10th Cavalry. They were all black.
Right.
And she told me the name of his last horse, and I have it written down. I can't think of it. But, these people just keep coming out with these great stories and these great relationships and the opportunity to meet people, even now it's virtually. And I'll never get to meet him personally because he's in Maryland, but it just keeps happening.
That's so
It's
cool.
just really cool.
Well, it was interesting to me that you got into the Trellis, and I never knew how you got into the Trellis job because I knew you from something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that is probably one of the coolest jobs that there has to be in the world. I'm sure it's still a job, but make a wish,
Yes.
and you granted some wishes, and I mean, you get to meet these people that are granting the wishes, but then of course you're dealing with the families that are just overcome with and overwhelmed at this point.
Right.
Highs and lows. I mean, I guess, just because you can't be sad, because if you show you're sad, then that's taking away from. And so that's how we really knew each other is because
Right.
you used to do a thing called Celebrity Serve.
Celebrity Serve.
And
Hold on to your hat.
yeah, there were definitely some D-list celebrities that you had. You'd have like Austin or Cameron and all those big wigs, and then you'd have, the D-list down there, MKT from their radio show. And
Yep.
thank God we had friends that would come over and do the things, or else we would have had nobody there. Neat idea. We got, of course, and that's when we started doing stuff with Chef Adam and things like that. And, we'd have our friends come in, and portions of stuff would go to Make-A-Wish. So tell us about Make-A-Wish, because I know that a lot of people think such a wonderful organization and what they do.
Well, I was a volunteer for probably 9 years, and I was on staff for about 4.5. And I've been able to work with probably over 100 families. And to be eligible, a child had to be 17 or less and have a life-threatening medical condition.
Right.
So we would go call on them and just say, if you had one wish, and this is a question, it's awesome, and to be able to do it. If you had one wish, what would it be? And we had, of course, go to Disney World was number one. I had one wish. She wanted a horse. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there, and my partner with Make-A-Wish in the house, and talking to Katie. And when she said that, I looked at her parents, and they kind of made a face. No, we don't have a place for a horse.
Right.
So I said, well, if you had a second wish, what would it be? To go to the Kentucky Derby.
That was an easy one probably for you to get.
I didn't know how easy it was going to be because I had a connection, another veteran, a friend in college, that I just called him and said, we have this 12-year-old at the time who wants to go to the Derby. Man, did she go to the Derby. She actually got to sit on one of the horses that ran in the Derby and sit in the box seat of the owner of that horse. And, that was, one of the spectacular, they were all spectacular, and just so many things happened that, what are the odds of this happening? And I saw it all the time with Make-A-Wish. Something would come up and it would happen. You would meet somebody that could make it happen.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like, someone asks for this, and the next thing you know, you're talking to someone who goes, oh, well, I know them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I think Stabler's cutting onions down there, so if that's what's making us well up, it's probably from him prepping something down there. But
yeah, that's right. Probably that onion on the
table.
table.
Onion on the table.
Yeah,
so
I get a little emotional.
Did you do something with Ryan Newman? Is that the one that I remember that you did some stuff with? Was that one of your later
No.
ones? Okay, so who was it that... It was a NASCAR driver, wasn't it, that you did a lot of stuff? Was it Jimmy that you did some stuff with?
No, Make-A-Wish did.
Right.
But they had that relationship in Charlotte.
Right.
That's before I became involved with this.
So what was your favorite wish, you think?
Oh, Katie's.
Yeah,
I
really?
mean, yeah. I mean, that was one of them.
I saw the ESPN special where they had Chris here, and he drove a kid around. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Paul.
Were you involved in that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a little girl who was a poet.
Right.
She was maybe 13.
No, you did
She wanted to meet my Angela.
All right.
So I got to spend the afternoon with her and her family and another Make-A-Wish person, and certainly Dr. Angela's friends with them. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to expect.
Right.
She's a wonderful woman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that same month, the beginning of that month, we had a child from Sweden who wanted to meet Richard Petty.
Right.
So I got to help facilitate that meeting.
Right.
So within a month's time, I got to meet two American icons from totally different backgrounds and experiences and all that. who were both wonderful people.
It's amazing. I was thinking about some of the stuff and realized, Chris Paul lived down the street from us.
Yep.
And when we bought our house in Arbor Run, and one day I'll meet him and I'll say, hey, you remember that idiot that was yelling at you about getting your knees up, biking up the hill? Yeah, that was me. So, he comes down with him, and then CJ goes up, and then his dad's behind him, and I'm like, his dad's like, hey, you moving in? I'm like, yeah. I said, I used to live up the street. He says, oh, okay. Charles Paul, nice to meet you. And I'm like, did I just tell the NBA Rookie of the Year that he needed a bicycle?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's great, John. That's typical you. But everyone knows. I was in K&S one time. I was talking about Jeff Gordon and Brooks' mom. His ex-wife, Brooks' mom, was in there buying a newspaper, and it's
Really?
like, you just don't know what those connections are until you need them.
Yep.
And you've been blessed to have
Oh, yeah.
wonderful connections.
Yeah, it just, it's not me. I believe that if you're doing or trying to do good things happen.
Right.
So, that's kind of the story of my career path.
So obviously nonprofit's been the last, 15 years
Yeah.
or so? What'd you do before that?
We had what brought me to North Carolina was a small but national accounts receivable outsource
Right.
company.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we would help manufacturers resolve their issues.
And then did you do that up until you went to Make-A-Wish?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And then I was in sales. I worked for Wrangler for a while, and I worked for organizations, leather goods companies, and I sold ties and socks, and a traveling salesman.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did you have
It ain't what it's cracked up to be.
did you have the briefcase and everything?
Oh, well, yeah.
You didn't do like you want to buy a tie or like you want to buy a watch?
No. But I had
What
those
was it like working for Wrangler?
It was fun.
Yeah.
I was in the women's wear part of it, and you have to have your big rolling racks and
Right.
samples and all that sort of thing. And yeah, it was really interesting. And then they went through a management change,
Right.
and ownership change, and all that. And I was in Nashville at the time, and I got a call. We were getting ready to move to Nashville
Right.
from Tampa, Florida. Long story.
Right.
And I was in Paducah, Kentucky, and I got a call in the middle of the night in Paducah, Kentucky. Said, "Oh well, you don't have a job anymore."
Oh, good. Thanks for
So
calling
we
me.
already sold our house, and
Yeah.
we hadn't. You can't buy a house if you don't have money.
Right.
So that was interesting.
Yeah.
So we were homeless for a summer, but it was fun.
Right. So why the love of Kentucky? I already know the answer, but go
Oh,
ahead.
well, I grew up there.
Right.
Yeah, and just a small town, very small town, and just the things I missed out on by being from a small town in Kentucky, I caught
Right.
up with soon enough.
Yeah, I was in the National Leadership Academy, and the current president of Kentucky Realtors is a buddy of mine, Mike Inman. So we went up to his installation, and it was so nice to get up there. I took a buddy of mine, Philip Johnson, and we left here, and 36 hours later we were back, and we hit 4 distilleries and the installation
Oh,
in
yeah.
36 hours.
Yeah,
I was proud of that.
It's a unique state. It's
Yeah.
fun.
We left on like a Sunday morning and came back on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So, but it was a neat experience. And it's a beautiful state. And of course, then about a week later is when the tornadoes hit.
Yeah.
And to see the Realtor Relief Foundation immediately come in, and that was established after 9/11 because realtors found out that they couldn't get the monies from charities as quickly for their clients, so we established our own, and they just write checks to people after 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
The Bowling Green was particularly hard hit, and that's where I went to school.
okay.
So
Actually, we played them in a bowl after that. Appalachian did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Western.
congratulations
Yeah.
on that win.
Well, I was kind of torn between that because Brian went to App State.
Yeah,
I went to Western
say Western Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah, because if you say Western, then people don't.
Oh, yeah.
Don't think you got an education. You went to
Yeah.
Western North Carolina. or
The
something.
Hilltoppers.
Yeah, right. So.
The Hilltoppers.
We're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to finish up and
Okay.
talk about where you see us going and things like that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm here with Don Timmons, and we've talked about everything, Don. I mean, we've talked
lot.
about the Vietnam War. We've talked about your work with veterans. We've talked about Make-A-Wish Foundation and how we came to know each other. Talked about your family. The one thing that we really haven't talked about is Winston-Salem, and we've scratched on it a little bit, but you know, I always tell people that you know, when I came to Winston, this is what it looked like, and obviously you've been here a while now. What do you think of how it's changed and all the different things that you've seen go on in our community? And you know, what do you want to see? What besides us make bourbon or something like that? Or
Yeah, the distillery might
Yeah.
not.
we've got a couple now. This is
Well, we've been here, I think I told you, probably 30 years now.
right.
And things were different then. I mean, the parts of town now that are just vibrant and things happening all the time.
Right.
You wouldn't go.
You didn't go downtown.
No. You
Yeah.
wouldn't go
Right.
there. So I'm really happy about that. I think the leadership has been good. As far as the future, you know, I am not a tech person, but it
Right.
seems like we're heading in that direction as well. And certainly the medical research and all that we're doing, you know, I don't even like to see a needle. So,
Right.
but
Agreed.
yeah, gosh,
I definitely look this way when they're getting ready to jab you. Yeah.
oh yeah, definitely. But you know, I think the future is good. You know, I've enjoyed living in this area. The people I've met, I belong to a Rotary Club. Probably a lot of people out there do also.
Which Rotary are you in?
Clemens,
Okay.
and it's a
So you
very.
get to see Wendy occasionally.
I do.
Yeah.
Yep. So I had breakfast with her last week.
Right.
It is our club is very active. I'm sure most of them are.
Right.
We do things that are relevant and meaningful, and
Right.
that's part of what I want to be a part of. You know, I don't know. I guess I've never been described as a deep thinker. So as far as where it goes from here, I'm going to be on the ride. I'm not going to be making it happen.
Don, if 30 years ago I told you that the medical students were going to be in a converted warehouse downtown,
Yeah, right.
and that you were going to be drinking a beer that was made in Winston-Salem with your wife, not the Stroh's Brewery, but with your wife, where Wiseman is, you would have laughed me out of town.
Right, exactly.
And now we've got radar and all the stuff they're doing over there, and
Incendiary used to be where they put coal for the
right, yeah.
for the fires.
Yeah,
for
right.
it
That's
to-
where they dump the coal out.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible, the changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has changed. It's changed for the good. You know, every city, every situation now, you know, there are obstacles to overcome. We hope that we have the people in power that are truly interested in making that happen. You know, that's everybody's decision. But you know, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I went in 9 years ago almost to get my advanced directives done at Trellis Supportive Care, and you know, I've been able to, because of their support for veterans and the community, obviously. It's given me the opportunity to turn what was an unusual situation in 1969 and 70 to something that's been beneficial not only to me and my family, but to a lot of people that I come in contact with all the time.
You know, it's interesting to me. You've said unusual. You've said awkward or whatever like that. It's something that those of us that have not been involved in will never understand. And you know, you always as profane, not of the temple. You know, an old Masonic term. It's like, do you want to? You know, it's like, what'd you do? You know, all that stuff. And it's like, it's not something people talk about. And you know, like I said earlier, I mean, I thank you for everything you've done. And you know, the reason we're here today is I called you because I walked out. You know, so the two things happened. One day was one, and they both happened on the same day actually. So I was at hospice for a client at Trellis, and I called you, and I was walking out, and I said to the lady, I said, "Is Don here?" And she goes, "Well, he's in the building next door." And I called, and then you picked up, and I'm like, and he's like, "What?" And I go, "Well, supposedly there's a building here somewhere with your name on it or something." I'm looking around, and you weren't there, but we were able to catch up. And then I drove to Greensboro to pick up a permit for something. And on the way there, I stopped and went into a Quality Mart to get gas or whatever because I was running out. And I saw someone, and they were talking to someone. And then the next thing you know, I called Graham Bennett. And so then the next day Graham goes, yeah, sure, I'll do the show. So so we're going to have him on next week. And but it just clicked just like that.
Yeah.
And you know, what you do is amazing, and people don't realize how important it is. From an agent that started when, you know, there were husbands, wives, partners, to now, if you know, before legalized same-sex marriage, you know, mom could swoop in and take away the rights of someone that had spent 30 years with a partner. And very important to have those advanced directives done. If you're engaged to be married,
Yeah.
very important to have that stuff done, because, you know, if I always tell people when they're buying a house and they're thinking about it, I said, you know, you need to decide what's going to happen if it doesn't work out, but more importantly, you need to decide what's going to happen when it does work out. So is this just for veterans, or is this something that everyone can benefit from with advanced directives with you?
Oh, everyone. Yeah, absolutely.
That,
yeah,
that was, I believe that was called a T-ball T setup
Yeah,
there. So
boom.
yeah, so hit your home run on this. What,
Okay.
Explain to people one more time why they have to have this stuff.
Okay, just I'll tell you a story. When I first started doing the advanced directives, I went over to Novant for a meeting about that subject matter. And we were probably in a room with 30 people. Some
Right.
knew each other, most of us didn't. And we were talking about it, and this lady raised her hand and said, "Can I tell you a story?" So that's why we were there. So she started talking about her mom, who was dying. And her brother was there, and her sister. They were both there, same family. So, and she set up the story with saying that people express love in different ways. So I'm gonna expand on the words a little bit. But you know, the brother, again, same family, said, "I love Mother so much, I want to keep her alive as long as possible,
Right.
no matter what." The sister, "I love Mother so much, I know what she's going to have to go through, and I don't want to see her have to do that."
Right.
Same family. The problem is they never talked to Mother about what kind of care she wanted.
Right.
Had they done that, both brother and sister would think the same thing,
Right.
but they would know what Mom wanted, and that would have made that decision a lot easier, and Mom most likely would have gotten the care that she wanted.
Well, and with a third sibling, they may not pick one side or the other. They may try to be the peacemaker, and then
Right.
Mom's doesn't know what she's getting.
Right.
Yeah.
So having what again, the living will just lets you state what kind of health care you want
Right.
if you can't communicate it yourself.
Right.
And the healthcare power of attorney lets you assign people to be your voice if you can't speak for yourself.
So do you have seminar? I mean, like what? How do I don't. Let's say if I don't have this, do I just call or send you the email, or and then they run by hospice and fill out a form, or what happens?
We have another department has a virtual workshop
Right.
every Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And all you have to do is let us know. We can send you the Zoom access, and you can get on.
Forms are there in some way, shape, form. You fill them out, and then
Right.
you just get them notarized.
Right. And then I have one for veterans and veteran supporters
Right.
on the second Tuesday of every month
Right.
at 10 o'clock. But we are starting to have them in person again on the second Tuesday of every month at the Senior Center in Knoxville,
Okay.
and the fourth Tuesday of every month at the Senior Center in King,
Okay.
both all at 1 o'clock. And hopefully we'll be having them on site, on campus, coming up soon in person. So it's a matter of working our way through COVID. And we just want everybody to be safe.
You ready for your next tee up here?
Sure.
How much are they?
Oh, they're FREE.
Free. So it's free.
Yeah, Chalice thinks it's, because the organization deals with this all the time.
Right.
We just feel like it's one of the most important things you can do to make sure, for one, you get the kind of health care you want.
Right.
You have a conversation with people that you care about and who care about you, so they know what you want. And you fill these documents out, and these documents, once they're notarized and witnessed, they become legal documents.
Right.
So that's who the healthcare team or the doctor will come to if a decision needs to be made about your health care. So, and you don't have to be 75 like me or whatever. How old are you?
I'll be 54 in a couple weeks.
54. You're just a pup.
So, not saying that, not since we're at this point, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, gosh.
I know,
Just-
great father, great husband, but what do you want to be remembered
Yeah,
for?
just kind of making a difference, a good difference. You can make a difference. It's not
You
so
care,
bad.
buddy. You care so much. It's crazy to me. Yeah,
But, yeah.
and I thank you for that too,
Sure.
because you've already made a difference in a lot of people's lives, yeah. And you are a star, and I just thank you
Well,
for being here today.
I'm glad we met
Yeah.
way back at Big Shots and
Yeah.
whatever year that was.
Every year we'd have it, you would always bring something.
Yep.
Yeah, it was so nice. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
well, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the
Absolutely.
invitation.
Absolutely. We look forward to catching up, and let me know. If I need to notarize some stuff, you need me
Okay.
to be one of your. Yeah.
Don't tell me that. I don't forget.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm there if you need me.
I know,
You know that.
I know you
so,
are.
But no, thanks for all you do. So Don Timmons is with Trellis. We're gonna put his email address at the end here. I'm sure you know this fella, Jeff Smith with Smitty's Notes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff's been helping us out, sponsoring us, and putting some stuff out. So
Good.
make sure you check out smittysnotes.com. And we will be back next week with more Camel City Chat. Certainly appreciate you guys continuing to follow the channel. Please like and subscribe and get some more of your friends to do the same. And we'll see you soon.